watching and listening to Breakfast on GB News with Paul and Rosie, standing in for Stephen and Anna. Very good morning to you. We are live across the UK on both your TV and radio.
Let's have a quick flick through the day's front pages. One story really dominating, and the Daily Mail have got it front page. £460,000 spent by Scotland Yard on the Partygate probe. They say that was an outrageous waste of resources during a cost of living crisis.
Times reports that nearly 1 million patients with insomnia will be prescribed a self-help app by the NHS instead of more conventional sleeping pills. We'll be talking about that in just a moment.
The Daily Telegraph reports Sue Gray is pushing for key players in the Partygate scandal to be named in her report. She's also threatening to publish some photographs as well. We don't quite know how revealing they'll be. We'll discover next week.
The Mirror scolds the Met Police after Boris Johnson escaped further fines.
And the Daily Star leads on the new multi-millionaires. A couple in Gloucester won £184 million in the recent Euro Millions lottery. We've been asking you this morning, would you go public? It's very hard if you win with someone else. The secret's already shared by two. Quite hard to spend the £184 million without raising a couple of eyebrows, but a few of you have been getting in touch this morning, and you can on any of your views on these stories this morning, gbviews@gbnews.uk. We mentioned sleep, but let's start and reintroduce our paper reviewers, author and academic Joanna Williams, as well as former Labour councillor Kevin Craig. John, let's start with you. This idea then, instead of getting what we might have thought as a conventional treatment for lack of sleep, sleeping pills, an app instead. Do you think it's a good idea?
Well, this is a story very close to my heart. I've struggled with insomnia on and off all my life, so you can imagine I'd be very, very pleased and excited to hear about this. I've got to confess I'm a little bit sceptical, and the number one reason why I'm sceptical is because I think it's my phone that actually keeps me awake a lot at night, and it's even just being aware of my phone being in the same room as me. I know that sounds perhaps very silly, so that makes me a little bit suspicious about an app that presumably will be on my phone and will be monitoring my sleep, and I kind of think I might find the whole thing so stressful that it would actually keep me awake rather than encouraging me to go to sleep. Having said that, I think anything's good to try, and pills really have huge side effects and are not the solution to everyone.
How do you get to sleep? How do you fight it?
Well, I do use my phone, which is really bad of me, so I'm a complete hypocrite. But I listen to podcasts. Obviously, I'm not going to say which podcasts send me to sleep.
Yeah. The authors probably would appreciate it massively.
Maybe an audiobook, a more soothing one.
Yeah.
I quite like that.
What about you, Kevin? Pills or app?
Audiobooks, but I think what's really interesting about the story that Joanna's flagged is that is the number of people in our country who are taking medication to help sleep. I can't remember exactly what the figure was. Joanna might know, but it's startling, and anything that can reduce that would be great. But audiobooks are just bedtime stories for grown-ups, and it works.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I have to say it doesn't work with me, but you've got to realise I'm somebody, like I say, who has a long-standing problem with this. If the audiobook's too good, then I found myself lying awake to get to the end of the story.
Instead of
the next chapter,
you have to listen to slightly rubbish audio.
Exactly, boring ones.
Yeah.
Instead of podcasts, what about streaming, Kevin? Netflix has come under scrutiny, particularly Nadine Dorries, because she's talking all about the future of Channel 4, praised Netflix, but she's slightly unstuck herself in the process.
Well, one thing about the Secretary of State for Culture that you have to say is that she's always good for news generation, and I actually, to be fair to her, feel for her here, because she inadvertently revealed at a select committee inquiry that she shares liberally passwords amongst her household in different locations, until the civil servant nudged her and squeezed out ventriloquist style that actually, Secretary of State, you're not supposed to do that. But the truth is, of course, I reckon most people do it, and they leave it to the provider, who's obviously lost 25% of their market value in recent weeks, to fix it. So I don't think it's fair to wade in on Nadine Dorries this time. She she can be quite amusing, and she's admitted something here. I think that a lot of people have in common.
Does that make it okay though, just because lots of people do it? I mean, we've been talking about rule breaking all morning.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there is a I would suggest a difference in magnitude and severity between Netflix password sharing and the topic that I'm not going to mention again.
Yeah, as we were just hearing, passwords may become redundant anyway, which would probably be music to Netflix's ears.
Yeah, I think that's a great point about how technology will probably disinvent the need for them in due course. So, the one thing she did say, I think, is, you know, GBNEWS is an insurgent broadcaster, and she was making the comment that Netflix, as a more established platform, is not in the trouble that people say it is. So, interesting, but I think in time, in a year even, passwords may not be what they are now, and that'd be great.
Yeah,
Another story inside the papers in the Daily Mail, Joanna, a new show on Netflix.
Well, potentially. We don't know this for certain yet, but this looks like Harry and Meghan's big Netflix plan is for a kind of keeping up with the Kardashians style reality type of show. They've invited the cameras, apparently. Like I said, that this is still
who would have thought that would ever happen, eh?
Well, this is the couple who famously left the UK and left the royal family because they were so cautious about wanting to protect their privacy. So I'm sure it'll smack a lot of people as, well, let's say curious, to say the least, that this very privacy-loving couple are going to invite the cameras into the most intimate part of their life. I mean, their own home. To me, I find that quite terrifying. I would hate to have television cameras there from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. I mean, do we really want to see this, though? I would tune in at first, I think, just out of curiosity and just to see the size of the house and the opulence.
Kevin, many people will be annoyed at the hypocrisy of that this is a couple that, you know, left the UK, as Joanna points out, for privacy, and now they're going to be in their own reality show with cameras following them around.
I think you're right. I think I agree with Joanna on this, that it is hypocritical, but actually this is probably going to get a lot of viewers. People are interested in them. I think it's regrettable that they left the royal family. I had a lot of time for Harry as a veteran who put his life on the line for our country, and now it's turned into a slight showbiz circus with a lot of chat around the brand and the PR, what I do in the day job. So I think it is a shame, but it will be popular. So there we are. That's what counts. Eyeballs.
I think there's a real danger, though, that it could backfire for them, because I think you're right, Kevin. I think lots of people will tune in, and certainly, hands up, I will be one of them, you know, like I said, out of just curiosity if this ever comes off. But I think sometimes, you know, the more we know about celebrities, the less we actually like, and sometimes having that veil of mystery and actually having a bit of a private life as well makes you more interesting and makes people curious about what's going on. You can reveal too much.
And just out of interest, what do both of you make about the fact that they're going to be at the Platinum Jubilee celebrations?
Well, they're not actually going to be on the balcony,
No.
so I guess they're keeping some distance that way. I guess my only hope, I'm not a royalist at all. I mean, you know, I'm
Would you abolish them?
I would. I'll be completely honest, I would abolish the monarchy, but I take my hat off to the Queen. I've got a great deal of respect for the Queen, and I guess my only hope is that if Harry and Meghan come over, well, they are coming over for the celebrations, it doesn't just become all about them. I mean, I think there is something to celebrate in the fact that the Queen, you know, has led this very long life. She's done a good job, and it shouldn't really take away from her moment. But that's the danger with Harry and Meghan. Everywhere they go, it seems to be all about them, and I think that would be a shame if that was allowed to happen for the Platinum Jubilee celebrations.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very distressed to hear that Joanna would get rid of the Queen's place in our country. So I am glad that Harry and Meghan are coming over. A lot of young people find them interesting, whatever I think. But I think the royals and royalty play a vital part in our democracy, actually, of staying above politics, and they're consistent. And the Queen is remarkable, so we can all unite around that. What a woman.
Yeah, Joanne, just out of interest, you said you'd abolish the monarchy. If it was possible? Would you keep the Queen but lose the rest of the monarchy? Because people, I think, love the Queen, even if they have issues with the monarchy.
Yeah, no, and I certainly wouldn't rush to abolish the monarchy in the next 3 or 4 years. You know, let the Queen see out her life. She's done a sterling job and keep her going. But I guess my problem with the monarchy is precisely the opposite to what Kevin's just said. I see it as being anti-democratic. I'd far rather have a bad president who we were then able to vote out than a system based on hereditary privilege. You know, I think that's terrible. Why should somebody get to have a say in the constitution of this country simply because of a position that they were born into? To me, that really gets to the very heart of actually a very anti-democratic position. And I think anyone who's genuinely interested in democracy and a real Democrat should not be in favour of the monarchy.
Controversial views this morning. Get in touch with yours, gbviews@gbnews.uk. People were delighted, though, to see the Queen last week at those Platinum Jubilee celebrations. She opened the Elizabeth line as well this week. She did miss the state opening of Parliament last week to great despair. One thing that was laid out in the sort of address of what Parliament were going to focus on for the next year was things like cost of living. And in the Times, we've got this story: the world's poor punished as blockade bites and wheat prices rocket. Just to explain a little bit more of the context for us.
So this is a story about the Ukraine, and obviously we've been rightly very much focused on the fighting that's been going on, the incredible loss of life, the bravery of the Ukrainian soldiers. But this is looking at some of the longer term consequences that are going beyond Ukraine. And obviously we know that Ukraine is the responsible for producing more wheat than any other country on earth, I think. And most of that wheat is exported, and it's exported to some of the poorest countries on earth. We're talking Libya, Eritrea, Somalia, Lebanon. These countries are really dependent upon the Ukraine for their wheat. Because of Russia's blockading the ports, this wheat is not getting out, and this we are struggling with the cost of living crisis in this country. But for countries like Eritrea and Somalia, where there just aren't the reserves, there aren't the kind of companies you can put a windfall tax on, there aren't other sources of money you can tap into. I mean, this is potentially devastating, and this is what's coming 6 months, a year down the line from now. And I think, you know, the kind of heads of government around the world need to get their heads together, and we need to start thinking now about how we stop situations. Nobody wants to return to the 1980s style famines, you know, when you think about the Live Aid concerts and why they were needed. I mean, heaven forbid we return to a situation like that.
Yeah, and the top wheat exporter would benefit, of course, which is Russia. What do you make of it?
It's a very good article in the Times today, and it's obscene, really, that this is another one of the side effects of the conflict, and it just reinforces the need to try and hope for a resolution as a matter of urgency, because it's shocking and dispiriting to see the impact.
It's depressing to hear that it's going to drag on for, I mean, a lot of experts say it's going to drag on for years. And we're in a cost of living crisis, and this is one of those global factors that the government often cites.
Yeah, and I would encourage listeners and viewers to re-listen to an amazing discussion on this channel earlier this week, actually, about the background factors to the Ukraine crisis, featuring, I think it was Mr. Hitchens. And it's complicated and it's historic, and we can just hope that we find a resolution, because this piece points out that the world's poor are going to suffer even more.
Thank you so much for your time and your insight, both of you. Kevin, Craig, just very recently former Labour councillor.
I might add.
No
someone said this morning.
Is that the end of your political career?
Possibly not. Who knows?
Well, there could be a job going at the top of the Labour Party soon.
I don't think there will be, because we have a fantastic leader. But
I thought we'd moved on from this story.
Anyway, yes,
and
sorry,
Joanna
everyone.
Williams as well, author and academic. Really appreciate both of you coming in and spending the morning with us here on Breakfast. You're with Paul and Rosie. In for Stephen and Anne. Stephen is getting married.
Yes.
So he is rather busy, and I'm sure he'll tell you all about it this time next week.